What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to an incredibly special episode of Pro v Pro. We are talking Philly cricket for the Truist Championship, also talking a teeny bit of U.S. Open qualifying. Justin, I know you have a very strange kind of U.S. Open qualifying dilemma going on today.
Yeah, so I'm supposed to tee off at 12:50. It's literally rained here
right now, by the way. 9:45 your time.
Yeah, it's 9:45 my time. So I'm supposed to tee off at 12:50 today. It's absolutely dumping rain. It's rained for 2 days. They did tee off this morning rather than just pushing it back one day where it's going to be perfect weather. I heard they are playing the ball down, which is just a USGA special. It's just going to be a joke. So the driving range is closed, but they're playing it down. And they've already played a couple holes. They've already been delayed a couple hours this morning. So I think my new tee time is 2:50 as of now. The only reason I haven't played golf in literally a month is the last time I picked up a golf club. Yesterday I went and I tried to hit a bucket of balls. I hit like 6 and I hit it the best I've ever hit it. And I was like, I'm done. And so I had like zero expectations. We're playing my old home course. So it's where I was a member for 10 years. So I was like, this will be fun. Hasn't really worked out. But the USGA just makes terrible decisions when it comes to the weather and what they're doing. They played a qualifier yesterday at a golf course with literally mud pits in the middle of the fairway and played it down. I mean, there's pictures going around of like all the local guys. It's just disgusting.
Is it the USGA making those decisions for you?
Yeah, it's all USGA. So it's all the old, it's all super old guys out there. It's not So it's run by the Texas Golf Association as far as scoring, but they literally just do the scoring. All the rules officials are USGA.
Got it. I think, I could be wrong, but I think where I'm at, like all of our qualifiers are always, they just let GAP, Golf Association Philadelphia, run it because GAP does such a good job. It's like every single guy running the tournament is somebody that I've seen for years and years playing these events. So
you would think they would let, because I'll play a few amateur events throughout the year and see the TXGA guys all the time, but they literally just let them do scoring. And they have, I'm telling you, the average age of these guys is like 92. And they're like, oh, golf purists, we got to play it down. They'll probably, I haven't been out there yet, but I bet the bunkers are ground under repair and they play the ball down everywhere else.
Well, when you do play, whenever that is, you got to get through so that we can both make it to final qualifying. I got through this past Thursday, so can't wait for that. June 2nd, 36 holes, longest day in golf. Hopefully,
it's so fun though. I've got to do it, 4 or 5 times. It's just a really fun time.
Yeah, this is going to be my 5th, and it's so weird. Like, this is going to be my first time playing it since I stopped trying to get to the PGA Tour, essentially. So first time that I'm playing it without golf being like my full-time job, and it's a totally different mindset. I kind of feel like I'm more prepared than ever before, even though I'm playing significantly less golf than I was then. So can't wait for June 2nd, but we've got a fantastic golf tournament to talk about this week. Truist Championship at Philadelphia Cricket Club. The number one reason why I want to go hole by hole and talk through this golf course is because what I'm seeing online on the PGA Tour's website, highlighting these holes, a lot of the tee boxes are incorrect. Now, let me say ahead of time, it is 100% possible that some, if not all, I think it's none, but it's possible that some actually are correct and they're either changing tee boxes or they can't use the back tee for some reason, like maybe they have fans there, things of that nature. But I think the more likely explanation is that whoever is making these graphics and showing these holes and highlighting these tee boxes is just trying to do it based on the picture, and they can't always guess correctly. And so we're going to talk through how some of these holes are made more challenging when you get to the correct back tee box. So anything to add to that, Justin, before we jump right in?
Yeah, I would also probably say that after what we saw last week at Craig Ranch and how everybody continues to complain about the low scores, that they're going to try to make this as difficult as they can.
Yeah, I talked about this a little bit. I did the preview show with Pat Mayo this week. So if you haven't checked it out, do so. I think it was a really fun show to do, and hopefully it was as informative as it was enjoyable to actually record. One of the things that I mentioned there was Philadelphia as a whole really takes pride in having difficult, challenging golf courses. And we see that every time the tour goes to Aronimink. We saw it when the tour went to Marion. By the way, that week, if you remember, I think Justin Rose either won it even or won over. And going into the week, everyone was talking about the fact that Marion was too small. It was going to be too easy. They were going to light it up. 20 under was going to win. And the course just dominated, guys. I think we're going to see something similar from Philly Cricket. In the State Open, the cut was +7 to make it to the final day. And the winning score went to a playoff at even par when I won it here. So to compare that, the year prior, the PA Open was at Oakmont. The cut was 1 stroke higher at +8. The winning score was an identical even par. Everyone knows how challenging Oakmont is. Philly Cricket is also a beast, even though it doesn't look like quite the same beast on a scorecard. We'll talk a lot about why. We also saw Philly Cricket hosted the Senior Players in 2016. Bernhard Langer won at 1 over par. So I don't expect 1 over par to be the winning score this week. I'm not saying that, but I do think it's going to be challenging. There are going to be a lot of bogeys. There aren't going to be a crazy amount of birdies.
So have you guys had the weather to get the greens firm? I think that's the biggest deal to me is if you guys have had the weather to firm these greens up, man, this place could be really challenging.
No, it's been raining a little bit this week, and I think it's going to rain more on Thursday and Friday. But I will say, in the State Open, it was soft. It was really, really soft. We had 110-degree weather in the State Open, and we had a rain all week. So the course was very soft. We weren't getting much rollout in the fairways. The greens were receptive. But this course is still incredibly challenging because of just the way it's set up. The fairway bunkers are extremely well placed. The rough can be extremely difficult, but it's all about the green complexes. It's so hard to get the ball close to these pins. Again, we'll talk a lot about why. But let's jump in here. For anyone a little bit familiar with the golf course, the routing this week is difficult. They're using number 8 as number 1. My guess is that's based on its proximity to the driving range and the putting green. The only other change, of them playing it straight through, the only other change is what is usually 7. Instead of making that the new 18, they're making 7, 15, and 4 is being bumped back to 18. 4 is an incredibly difficult par 4, long and difficult, just like number 6, which is playing at 17. So we are going to see an incredible final 2-hole finish.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun to use. High leverage holes to finish under pressure situations are really, really fun. I just hope that they make it. I hope it's fun enough to where it's, there's a chance for a lot of 2-shot swings and stuff like that. And I'm sure you'll get into how much either double bogey is in play or can somebody, make a crazy birdie there to really, catch up to the field.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think, we'll kind of notice the themes as we talk through the holes. But one thing I will say is I don't think that this is the kind of golf course that creates a ton of double bogeys. It's difficult because every hole bogey is in play, and it's difficult because birdies are really tough to make. So like one of the things that I said to Pat was one of the mental challenges of playing this golf course is when you make a bogey, and bogeys are inevitable on this golf course, it's hard to tell yourself, oh, that's fine. Bogeys are fine. I can make it back on the next hole. I've got birdie opportunities coming up. There are so few birdie opportunities that when you make bogeys, part of the mental struggle is you don't know when your next opportunity is going to be to make that up. And so if you let's say you have a 3-hole stretch where you make 3 bogeys in a row, it feels like you don't have a path back. And I think that's a very unique challenge of this golf course compared to a lot of others where you see difficult hole, scoring hole, difficult hole, scoring hole. You just don't get many scoring opportunities on this course. But let's jump right in. There's not a whole lot to say about this opening hole. What you can't see from the picture here online, and this, again, is going to be a pretty consistent theme about this, too much, is you don't see the elevation change. This hole slopes heavily from left to right, so everything that lands is running towards these bunkers on the tee shot, and then it's way uphill to the green. It's a blind shot to the green. You can't see the green, and the green itself has 2 massive tiers. So there's a big slope kind of right through here that feeds down to the bottom, and then everything in the back feeds hard to the back right. So you get some pins here back left, for example, where if you're trying to hit this ball close, if you land it a little bit short, it feeds all the way to the front. Now you have a really difficult 2-putt. If you land it anywhere close to the hole, it's probably going down to the right. So it's, again, this is going to be a consistent theme, but one of the things we can say right off the bat here with this opening hole is it's going to be tough to hit the ball close. Even when you have a wedge in your hand, even if you have 80 yards in, a flip wedge, if you went driver and it got it like all the way in front of this bunker, it's still going to be very close to get the ball, or it's still going to be very difficult to get the ball close. And that's why one of the things I said to Pat is one of the aspects of golf that I think is going to be more predictive this week is actually putting, because you're going to have to make 10 footers, 15 footers to actually make your birdies.
So already it sounds like just first hole, and let's talk about this a little bit as we go through. You're talking about the elevation changes and stuff. Are we going to see like similar lies to like maybe what we see at Augusta, and why that course model stands out so much is because the fairways, are so sloped, and you're maybe hitting it off of different types of lies than maybe just normal flat lies?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely get that aspect of it. I think the other similarity between here and Augusta, aside from just the fact that like these greens are going to be crazy fast, by the way, is that you get a lot of greens where the green itself is large, but it plays small because there are segments of the green that you have to play to. And so many different undulations. So think of like 6 at Augusta, the par 3, where you've got the top right section, and then you have the top left section, and then you have the bottom left section just over the bunker. And to play to each one is like a totally different shot. You get a lot of the same sort of thing here at Philly Cricket, where it's a massive green, but you're always hitting to a very small area.
And that was like literally the first thing that stood out to me is like just first hole of everything. And then, obviously a little bit of what I've read and what you're saying already, like I might lean into a little bit of people that play well at Augusta, albeit I think it's going to be different around the green, but I'm sure we'll get to that later.
Yeah. Let's move to the second hole here. And this is the ordinary 9th. And this is one that, like, you just look at the picture and again, you think, oh, this looks like a very simple hole. The fairway looks pretty wide. It's pretty easy to hit into this area. And then you have a really big green. Again, this green, very heavily sloped, and it's deceptively sloped. It also goes way up from the fairway to the front of the green. So if you miss short and this pin is like in anywhere in the front section, it's a very difficult chip shot because everything actually runs away to the back right of this green. But this tee shot is a lot tougher than it looks because all of this here left is out of bounds. And you can see these trees come really like almost over the fairway, especially if you were thinking about hitting it down this left side, right? Like if you were to take driver, you could hit into this area, but now you're actually going over the out of bounds in the trees. So what a lot of people will do is they'll take long iron and just stay in front of this bunker. Some might try to take maybe a driving iron or a 3-wood, get it over this first bunker and in front of the second bunker. But you will see a lot of misses right in this rough, even in this fescue if they try to take it on. And it's not an easy shot from back here anyway because you have this deep bunker and, like I said, a very sloped green. Anything else you want to touch on this?
How challenging are the fairway bunkers? Like, are they big lips or like, because there's some fairway bunkers you hit it in, it's not that big of a deal.
So we will hear, I think, that the players love these bunkers. They're very firm. You get very good lies from them. But the firmness of the bunker, as you know, Justin, also means that a lot of time when the ball rolls in, it rolls all the way to the edge. And so I do think that more often than on most golf courses, when you hit in these fairway bunkers, you do end up with some lip trouble. And most of them are deep enough where that's kind of the design of them. You're supposed to have some kind of lip trouble when you get into these fairway bunkers. That isn't always the case. And like I said, when you don't have lip trouble, it's basically like hitting out of a fairway because the bunkers are firm. They're just really, really good sand. It also means that around the green, guys are going to be able to spin the ball the way they want out of the bunkers. So again, I think we're going to hear that people really like these bunkers, but they do present a challenge, and they are definitely enough of a hazard where you have to try to avoid them off the tee. You can't just say, it doesn't matter if I go in the bunker.
Okay.
All right, next hole, good par 3. There's not a whole lot to talk about with this one. In fact, it's very straightforward. Really, the only thing is that the wind can really hum on this hole coming across the parking lot. And then once again, you get deep bunkers all around. This is one of the more benign greens. It's subtle. It's difficult because every single putt breaks and it's hard to tell what the break is, but there is no like crazy challenging putt. Kind of an interesting shape to these tee boxes. But
how much do you think the effect of like the wind and visually like grandstands are going to make on like what holes like this?
Yeah, I mean, part of that is I don't know exactly where the grandstands are going to go. Like, you can't put anything here because that's another par 3. A really cool one, by the way. Can't wait to talk about that one. So maybe they're going to be grandstands here in the parking lot. In which case, if there's wind off the left, like that's blocked. But I think one of the challenges too is you can kind of see you're tucked in this corner with trees all around you on the tee box, so it can be difficult to actually feel the wind. But there is a giant flag like right here that you can just look at to see what the wind is. So I don't think guys are going to be confused in any way. This is one of the more straightforward holes. So we can move on to what is typically the 11th hole. This hole, by the way, very special in my own mind because this is the hole where my caddy on the final day, my buddy Scott, got heat stroke. He's on medicine that really made him susceptible to heat stroke. Like I said, it was 110 degrees, like 116, 114 heat index each of the last 2 days of the State Open. He got heat stroke. My dad had to finish the round on the bag, and this is the hole where that happened. But another one you can't see, but this is a bit downhill to this little cart path and then straight up the hill the rest of the hole. And here we begin the main theme of this golf course to me, which is carry distance off the tee is huge because it makes the holes wider. I was able to carry this bunker, which meant I could hit it anywhere here. Other guys are having to fit it here. This is extremely penal. Fescue over here on the right, often a lost ball. It's like up on an old train track as well. So you want to avoid this bunker. This bunker has one of the higher lips, so you really can't go in this one. If you can carry this one, it becomes a much, much, much easier hole. And then this green is extremely severe, getting some slopes this way, some slopes down that way, and then back to the back right. So you're going to hear it a lot, Justin, but carry distance off the tee is going to matter a lot.
The first thing that came to mind is it just seems like how far you can hit it in the air really matters.
Yeah, and this is actually like one of the more benign examples. You're going to see some where it makes a much clearer and much more significant difference. But I want to make one other point here, and that is coming off of this green, the next tee box is a little bit hidden. So let's go to this next one. It is typically the 12th hole. Instead, it's the 5th, playing as a par 5, 546 on the scorecard. And when you look at this view, it looks like a very simple hole. These bunkers, yes, they're in the way, but there's a lot of room right of these bunkers. So why is this hole difficult? Because these are not the actual tee boxes. These 4 right here, they go to the typical second hole, which goes that way. This is not the back tee for this par 5. The back tee is down in this area. So let's actually go back, and you can kind of see it's shaded, but that's the tee box. It's teeny tiny. That right there is the back tee to this 5th hole par 5. And what that does, Justin, is it makes this tee box, which goes over the other golf course, Militia Hill. This hole is so cool, by the way. It's a par 5 over this water. Anyway, that's all out of bounds. And you can see there's like a big rock wall here. And when you're hitting this tee shot, you now have to go over that. And there are these huge trees all down the right side. And if you hit these trees, guess what? There's a good chance that that ball gets knocked down out of bounds. So you have to stay left of these trees off the tee. But when you do that, let's trace this line. You end up at these bunkers, which are hidden from your view on this tee box. So you're going blind, and what you think is down the middle is right at these devastating, difficult bunkers. When you go in these, your best bet, your only option is to lay up in front of these other bunkers and leave yourself a wedge. So if you want to get there in 2, you have to feel like you're going at the trees on the right and that you're 15, 20 yards further right than what your eyes are telling you you should go. And that's the only line that actually hits the fairway. It's a significantly more difficult hole than what the scorecard says and what this picture suggests because of the angle change off the tee.
And then those right trees, can you hit it over those right trees, the really long guys, or is that going to be knocked down back into the creek, which is basically like hitting it out of bounds, right? If that goes back into the creek, that
I mean, it's not a creek. It's just it's a different golf hole on a different course. But yes,
it's just a wall.
Yeah, this is a big rock wall, and then it like drops like 30, 40 feet down to this lower level in the other golf course. You can get lucky in these trees. Like if you hit them, maybe they just kind of go through and you're in the rough. If you're in this right rough, it's not bad. It's the same sort of thing. It's like you're in the bunker. You're just chipping out somewhere down the fairway. You're going to leave yourself with a wedge. But it's dangerous, and you can't carry the trees on the right. So you have to hit a ball probably that cuts, starts at the bunker, and then cuts to the right. But when it's in the air, it's going to look like it's going at the trees. So it's, again, like it's just a very, very difficult illusion from the tee box because it's here. Like this is the tee box. So if you're taking a line to the right side of the fairway, like, look, I'm going through these trees, and that's where you're going to end up in the fairway. So like I said, this is a hole that is so much tougher than what you think just from looking at this picture. You also can't see any of the like undulation of the greens. This is a very difficult green complex. Every single one of these bunkers is difficult. In the final round, I had to make a very key par save. I was 3 over going into this hole in the final round. I was in this bunker in 3. The pin was over here and had a really good up and down save that kind of spurred my comeback to force a playoff.
It looks like the place just looks fun to me. Like, it's not daunting by the yardage. You don't look at it and be like, oh, this place is going to be hard. It just looks like a good old school golf course.
Yeah, it's so good, man. It's so good. Next hole. This is another one, by the way, where the tee box is incorrect. So it looks like it's saying that this is the tips, right? But this is for the par 3 that goes this way, as is this tee box, as is this tee box, as is this tee box. This is not the back tee. The back tee is like right here. I think we can see that looking at this hole. So this is the par 3 that I was talking about a moment ago. Don't know why this isn't loading. So these are the tee boxes that are highlighted for this par 4, but these are for the par 3. Yeah. This is the back tee. So this is like, it's just not even highlighted in the actual picture. And again, that makes this a bit of a longer hole. So it's like right in here. And here we get another example of why carry distance is going to be super important. If you don't have the carry distance to take on this bunker, which is probably like 310, 315 in the air, you have to stay left of it or you have to stay short of it. And now you're hitting in a much longer club. This hole's already 450 on the scorecard. So you don't want to have to lay back at 450. I was able to take on this bunker. I hit it into like this area, had a gap wedge in, made my first birdie on the back 9 to start my charge. So carry distance, if you have it, you turn what otherwise is a very difficult hole where you're just trying to avoid bogey, and you turn it into a scoreable wedge opportunity into yet another difficult green. But that's the theme to me, Justin, is when you have the carry distance, you turn bogey holes into birdie holes on this golf course quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it. It's yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even be able to think about hitting it over that bunker, right? I would have to hit it left or hit 3 wood short of it, and so then hitting 7 iron or 8 iron or whatever into it.
It's probably more. I mean, I think back here is like 190 to 210 in this area, so it's a massive difference. Because notice too, like it's not just that you're able to go further, but if I trace just a straight line here, notice now it curves, right? It curves. If you can take on this bunker, it's a much more direct line to the green. So it's not just so like a 30-yard advantage off the tee creates a 60-yard advantage actually to the hole on this hole. And that's, again, a pretty common theme on this golf course. Let's go to the next hole, which I think is one of the coolest holes. And you really, really don't get to see it from this picture. It's pretty flat to about here, and then it goes straight downhill to this green. And so when you're standing in this fairway or in this bunker like I was in the final round, you are looking down at this incredibly bunkered green complex. It's one of the coolest green complexes you will ever see. This green is insane. Way up. There's a tier here. It's also elevated here. Everything runs hard down this way, but runs even harder down that way. Also runs from this tier to that tier. So when the pin is back here or here, you get these incredibly tough. Maybe you have a wedge in your hand, but maybe you have 8 iron, 9 iron. I think I was hitting 7 iron out of that fairway bunker because I hit a terrible tee shot. But if you're taking on these pins, you run the risk of going long, and now you have an extremely fast, extremely difficult chip shot coming down out of this thick rough, or you don't get it all the way up the slope and it feeds down to the bottom, and now you have a really tough 2-putt. So, I have seen people around the industry kind of looking at this course and saying, oh, it's going to be a wedge competition. It's going to be a wedge and putter competition. And I'm telling you, they don't realize how difficult these green complexes are and how hard it is to get the ball close. I just don't think we're going to see many birdies. Now, I also I'm very aware of the fact that these guys are really freaking good, right? And they have taken some difficult golf courses and just put up some incredible scores. That is within the range of outcomes. But given how many people are saying, oh, this is going to be a wedge competition and that's going to be the separator, the thing that keeps me from really agreeing with that is I know that no matter how good you are with your wedges, some of these pin locations, a great shot hitting your exact target is going to be 15 to 20 feet from the pin. So you just can't hit the ball that close that often.
Yeah. Do you think, do we see somebody that maybe just is wedging it really good one day shoot a really low score because it is a shorter golf course? Or do you think that at some point they just won't be able to hit it close at all? Do we see somebody shoot 8 or 9, 10 under?
No, I don't see that. I mean, I think I don't know if it's still the course record, but for a long, long time, the course record was only 6 under par. You just can't make a lot of birdies out here. I think what we could see is some decent scores, like a bunch of guys at 2, 3, 4 under, where they're making only 1 bogey in the round. But I don't think we see the guy who makes a ton of birdies in any one given round.
Gotcha. Okay. I was just curious. It just seems like maybe a type of course where if you just happen to get really going, and I think everybody's kind of played a course like that, right? It's really, really hard, but you just happen to play really good that day, and it becomes a little more accessible if the greens are soft and you do have, quite a few wedges.
The best round of the week at the State Open was 5 under in the opening round from Jeff Osberg, one of the best Pennsylvania amateurs of all time. He's also the guy that I went to the playoff with. Beyond that, I think there were a couple 2 unders. I had one round that was 1 under, but that was it. It's like I said, it's a very difficult golf course to go low on because it's hard to make a ton of birdies. But anyway, let's go to this par 3. You can see this back tee box. I'm guessing that they're going to use this back tee box, which makes it a very long hole. This bunker is extremely deep. Everything runs hard this way on this green. So if you're going to avoid the bunker, you run the risk of being high side on a very fast green. It's kind of the beauty of this hole. The best miss is probably short in the fairway, but if you're trying to go short, now notice how narrow it becomes. So it's just a long, difficult hole. You just have to kind of sack up and hit the shot and hope that you hit a good one.
Yeah, I've also noticed a theme here that it's bunkered well, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of hazards in play.
Correct. Very correct. Next hole, playing is the 9th hole, typically the 16th. This is another really good one where you just don't get a sense of the elevation change of the actual hole from this picture. Let me see real quick if I can find a better picture of it. Yes, I can. Look at that. So here's a really good picture of this hole. The heck. There we go. Where this, by the way, is not at the full height of the tee box. The actual tee box is a lot higher. So you're looking down at this fairway, but once you get to this part of the fairway, this is a caddy's worst nightmare. You're just walking straight up the hill the whole damn time, all the way to the green. You can see how well bunkered this hole is too. It gets super narrow here in the fairway, but if you have the carry distance, you can take on this last bunker. This last bunker was hard for me to take on. I did take it on in the final round. We had a little bit of breeze behind, so I was in this left rough beyond the bunker and made another birdie from here. I actually bogeyed the par 3 prior. Thought that might have killed me, but got it right back with a birdie here, and that put me back. I think I was still 2 down after this birdie. But you'll notice it's out of bounds right, which is why I wanted to take on these bunkers, because I didn't want to flirt with the right side here. We will see some guys just decide, all right, I'm just going to stay short of that last bunker in this area. Then you have a longer semi-blind shot in. I wanted a wedge to give myself a scoring opportunity, so I took it on. Rory will be able to take this on. Minwoo Lee will be able to take it on. But this is one where you probably need to be like truly at the top of the field in driving distance to be able to take on this last bunker. And if you can, it becomes a very easy scoreable hole instead of a pretty difficult, demanding par 4.
So the first thing I noticed there on that other picture is how the greens seemed to be kind of raised. Mm-hmm. Is that a pretty common theme everywhere? See how the green seems to just be kind of raised? Is that a common theme on every hole?
It's common because it allows the bunkers to be even deeper. So it's not making it more difficult in the sense that the green isn't crowned the way a Pinehurst green is, for example. It's just raised so that the bunkers surrounding the greens can be that much deeper, which makes it harder to get the ball to stop around the hole, and makes it more likely that you get short-sided in a way that you can't hit it close, which is something I talked a lot about with Pat in saying I'm not sure that strokes gained around the green is going to be super predictive this week, because there are a lot of misses where there's just nothing you can do about it. You have to take your medicine, hit it to 20 feet, and 2-putt for bogey. There is signal, of course, in strokes gained around the green where if you are consistently missing in the right spot, you're making your short game shots easier on yourself, and therefore you're going to gain with your short game in the long run. But I think driving and approach play are actually going to be more predictive of your around the green success this week, because, like I said, it's about where you miss more than your actual around the green talent here.
Yeah, I'm like just going through this. I'm excited to see what happens with a lot of these. Just the way the players take on the different aspects of the golf course.
And by the way, to that last point, like one of the other reasons why I say I don't think around the green is going to be that predictive is because I'm not a good around the green player, and I didn't feel like that was hurting me that week. When I won, I was hitting a bunch of greens. I was hitting to the right spot. Like I was consistently hitting to 30 feet and then 2-putting. When I had opportunities from 10, 15 feet, I was making those birdie putts like on what is usually 12, but this week is 6. Like I made a 15-footer here, and then this one here was probably 10 to 12-footer for birdie. Like those are the kind of birdie putts that you have to make birdies here. And so I think, again, putting will be predictive. I don't think around the green play will be that predictive, but distance, carry distance especially, to me is going to be the number one separator by far here at Philly Cricket.
Yeah, I mean, I hate it, but because the golf course looks so cool, but we're going to go right back into driving distance. So yeah. I'm sure you knew that's what I was going to say. Mm-hmm. I just got an update for U.S. Open. We're delayed 4 hours now, so my earliest tee time is 4:50. Well,
at least you've got time to finish up. So that part's good. All right, next hole, what is typically 17. I'm a little bit bummed that we don't get the usual 17, 18, because especially 18, wait till you see this hole. It is so damn good. But this is also a good one, and it's another one where the tee box is incorrect. This is not the back tee. The back tee is like right under the 0. We might even be able to see it going back looking at number 9. So you come off the green. It's right next to this tree. My hands were so sweaty. Again, it was 110 degrees, that what I usually like to do is I like to find a patch of dirt and just put my hand in the dirt, kind of like a batter in a batter's box, to get a better grip. But there's no dirt around here. So I went and I just rubbed my hand against this tree. There's a branch that like hangs over the tee box, and I just rubbed it there to dry off my hand before hitting this tee shot. This was a very, very, very nerve-wracking tee shot, and you can see why. You've got these 2 big trees down the left, OB to the right, and then you also have this fescue long. And so the longer hitters, if you just take this down the middle, you absolutely can reach this fescue. This is in play. And if you go right, out of bounds is very much in play. So guess what? The long hitters are going to take on these bunkers down the left side. Again, they are perfectly placed. I think it's like a 310, 315 carry. Once again, like that is the number, 310, 315 in the air. If you've got that, you can make these holes a lot shorter. Fortunately, especially when it's 110-degree heat index, I have that. So I was able to take this on. My drive in the final round ended up in the rough, like just next to this tree. Had about 117 in, I think, made it a much easier hole. The guys that I was playing with stayed short of, of these bunkers and had like 210 blind into a very difficult green complex, which once again has a raised green and super deep bunkers. Let's see if we can get a quick look at that. You can see it. It's a little bit more in the distance, but you can see like this one is super raised. I don't know if this is large enough for you to get a good look at that, but deep bunker, everything long is dead. And this is one of the more unique shaped greens, which is another thing that Pat and I talked about, but I will show you here. So you can't really see it, but this is a two-tiered green where the low part, it's like a valley, goes like this. And so the back tier, the top tier, comes all the way around in this like big U shape. And so in the second round, the pin was like right here. And you would think, okay, there's a bunker here. So you got to play away from the bunker towards the middle of the green. So you're aiming in there, right? Except no, you can't aim there because now you have to putt way up this tier. So I was actually trying to hit it back here into this flat area so that I had a flat 25-footer back to the hole. Like, you know this, Justin. How unique is that? Where you're trying to hit the ball 20 feet, not away from the flag directionally, but distance-wise.
Yeah, very unique. And just knowing, I mean, it just sounds to me every hole and every way you described it, it's going to be similar lag putting to Augusta, of like having to use some imagination and having to judge your speed correctly, but also finding unique lines and figure out, because you're not going to get people with the same amount of course knowledge that they have at Augusta that have played there a bunch of times.
This is another one, by the way, where when we talk about carry distance, it's not just that you make the hole wider, right? It's not just that instead of hitting it between bunker and out of bounds, you get all of this room up here. But it's also, notice, straight line takes you here. Now you've got to take a big dog leg. If you can carry that, it's a much more direct line towards the hole. So again, a 30-yard difference in carry gives you a 60 to 80-yard advantage on the hole when it comes to where the actual flag is.
And I don't think you'll see a lot of people like 310 to 315 yards a long way. Mm-hmm. With it being cooler, I bet that number the number of people that can do that goes way down.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I'm thinking like Ben On, Pendrith, Rory, Minwoo Lee, Keith Mitchell, Thor Bjornsson. I'm sure I'm missing a couple, but there aren't that many guys who are going to be able to do this. This is not like every single guy in the field minus, the bottom 30 in distance. It's going to be a select few that are able to consistently make these holes shorter and wider.
Yeah. I think that's probably a big deal of why you see it's going to be really hard for anybody to shoot a super low score, is because you just don't have as many guys that can do that.
18, phenomenal hole. You don't get a sense of how far downhill you're going on the second shot, but over the creek, let me see if I can get the picture of this one. Maybe it's a good one. So this is a decent picture of it, but honestly, it's not great. It doesn't show you the full scope because this is probably like 3/4 of the way down the fairway slope already. So we're seeing like from here and beyond, not the big hill that starts up here and goes all the way down. Whoops, you couldn't see that. So let me go back here. So we are seeing from like here down
gotcha.
In the picture, not all the way back here for the whole slope. The slope starts here and it is straight down the mountain right there. So let's go back to this picture. You can get a good sense. Once again, crazy difficult green complex. Jeff Osberg made an incredible up and down on our first playoff hole from this left bunker. The pin was like in the back left area. It's a tiered green. You can't really see, but incredible bunker shot, and then made like a 12-foot curler. I had like an 18-foot curler for birdie on this back tier just to force the playoff. If you remember, my dad was caddying at this point, and he loves telling this story where we were reading the putt together, and I pointed to a spot like 6 feet above the hole on the putt. And you know what? Let me go to this view instead. So the pin was probably like right in here. My ball was there, and so the putt had to go like that. And so I pointed to a spot like up in here, saying it's got to curl there. My dad was seeing 2 cups of break only. I'm seeing like 6 feet. My dad's seeing 2 cups, and he goes, "Yep, I see the exact same thing." Makes the putt, and so he loves telling that story. That there was no way he was going to say anything otherwise to me. Typically, he's a great green reader, so it was kind of funny that we saw that much different. But certainly one of my favorite memories of this hole. But let's go back to the tee shot. Yet again, out of bounds right. You can lose the ball through if you hit it too far. Really, really well-placed bunkers on the left. We might see an internal out of bounds. We played with an internal out of bounds in the State Open because they don't want guys just playing down what is usually the first fairway here and then playing to the green with a nice angle there. So we might see an internal out of bounds, in which case you really want to avoid the trees, because I saw one guy, like, he nailed one of these trees and it just kicked 20 feet to the left and was out of bounds. Wasn't trying to do that, but if you can take on this last bunker, you end up with, I think I had like 145 in the playoff, and I also hit one to here, like 170, and in regulation I was like here at 160. Most guys are going to be back in here, 210, 220, way down the hill with these deep bunkers. So it's yet another hole where the carry distance makes the hole wider. You get all of this room instead of just that little bit with out of bounds right and these difficult bunkers left. But you're also taking yet another more direct line to the green. I have seen people around the industry saying that they don't see distance being that predictive this week because it's short. Hopefully you guys are seeing there are extremely clear, extremely powerful reasons why distance is as predictive as it is. And the last thing I'll say there is, like, I'm not good enough to win the State Open without driving, without distance being a big advantage. I didn't even feel like I played that well that week. I just felt like I was playing a different course than most of the field. And that was purely because of my distance. And so I think really leaning into those guys this week is going to pay off for us.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like it keeps going back to the same kind of thing. You also want guys that can. I know there's not going to be a lot of birdies made, but in events like this, I generally want to lead into guys with more birdie power anyway. So it just kind of double down. You just kind of double down on that theory.
That's a great point, especially with no cut. Right. So you want the scores, and who's going to be able to make birdie? The guys who are turning these holes into scoring opportunities, even if they also make some extra bogeys because they take on too much at sometimes. But here is what is typically the first hole. The next hole, it's going right back up that same slope. And again, this picture does not do it justice. I've caddied here for 2 summers. Trust me, like, even as the first hole of the day, this walk up this hill is really, really annoying. So this picture, not doing it justice at all, but it makes for a pretty difficult tee shot. By the way, this is really cool. It looks like this is the back tee box, right?
That's what I mean. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a putting green right behind it, and then that's the back tee.
Yeah, but the back tee is actually on this corner of the putting green. It's very cool back here.
Dude, they did that. They do that at the Corn Ferry event at Rangers. They tee off on the one here, but it's such a bad golf course. You're like, oh, this is cool. The first tee's on the putting green, but it's still like a 480-yard par 5 where you got to shoot 37 under. So
that's funny. Yeah, it's so well manicured on that putting green that you actually like feel a little bit bad about swinging hard and making any kind of indentation or tearing any of the turf with your shoes. But really good tee shot. Long guys will probably take it over this bunker down the left side. This bunker is in play. I only hit one good tee shot on this hole. It landed in this area, ended up like down here, which was a great angle. I actually won on this hole, our 4th playoff hole. I hit a terrible tee shot, like a duck hook left. I was in the rough right here. I remember 206 up the hill to a back right pin, hit it to a foot. We'll always remember that one. But
how is the rough then compared to what it's going to be this week? Do you have any insight on that?
Yes, I actually want to put a pin in that because I have some other pictures that I can kind of turn to help us with that discussion, because it's all about the grain. And the way that they mow the rough. But I can pretty much guarantee it's going to be thick. What I found, and what is probably going to be the case this week, is because of the speed that I found the rough very playable when I had down grain lies. Into the grain, there's just not a whole lot you can do regardless. And I think that's going to be the case. There's a special way that they mow here, and it sounds like they are doing it again. I have a buddy who caddied there Friday and Saturday. He took some pictures for me, so I'll be able to kind of point that out when we get there. But the only other thing I want to say about this hole, another crazy green, very reminiscent of which one were we talking about earlier? What is usually 14. It's the super well bunkered one where you have like a tier there. You have a secondary tier here, but it also runs from this tier to that tier, and then way down fast, a huge tier break it down to the front of the green. And then back here is raised. So let's see if we can find this pic. Oh no, we're not gonna be able to see it from that picture. Not even gonna try. It's death back here. So on that fourth playoff hole, the pin was back. I took 7-iron from 206 out of the rough, trying to be in this area. The adrenaline and the flyer lie, I crushed one. And my dad goes, "Oh, please be as good as it looks." And in the air, I go, "I think it is." Lands like right in the slope, goes right to a foot. It was picture perfect, but it was also a major accident. I was just trying to give myself 35 feet up the slope because I had played with a guy in regulation who hit it back here and started his day with double bogey and was pretty much out of the tournament already. So I knew what to avoid back there, and I was just trying to give myself an easy 2-putt instead.
Is it just tight lie, like sloped back up to the green? Like what makes it so difficult back there?
No, this is all rough. But it's difficult because it just runs so hard away from you. Like even this back tier isn't flat. The back tier is still running pretty hard back to front. And then back here, like as soon as you go through the green, you get upslope of rough, upslope of rough, upslope of rough. So you are well above the green here, going straight downhill to a green that runs away from you. And there's just no way to keep the ball up here. Maybe if you like landed it in the rough and trickled it out, it could stay up here. But more often than not, if you're back here, your next putt is going to come from the bottom of the green. If it even holds down there, you might even be in the fairway down in here.
Gotcha.
Not a whole lot to this next hole. It's downhill. Guys will probably hit 3-wooder, driving iron down to the bottom of the fairway, and then it's a pretty straightforward shot to the green. It is, once again, a raised green. Another one where you can't go long, but outside of that, there's really not much to it. You do get a sense of the elevation change from this picture. So this is from behind the green. So you're going way downhill and then back uphill to the green. This is actually a bunker for par 3, what is usually the 10th. It's the super straightforward one we talked about earlier. This picture actually gives you a better sense as to how like far uphill you're going and how deep these bunkers in front are.
How many times does that corner window get broke right there on that? What is that, the restaurant or whatever that is?
Yeah, not as often as you think, but this roof gets hit a bunch. So like guys from the fairway blast one way right, they hit this roof, which is to the cart barn. And then the ball can actually go back and play. In fact, I once saw a guy hit this roof pretty hard. He sculled something, so it hit this roof, bounced off of here, and got to like the fringe area up there. We were all just like, what the hell just happened? It was the luckiest shot I've ever seen. But yeah, pretty straightforward hole, so we can kind of just go right to the next one now.
Is there any thought to them playing an up tee there and making it drivable with out of bounds in play?
That's a good question. It's definitely possible that they would do it, but I don't think it becomes reachable. And I would also say there's not enough danger, penalty, I think, for it to be worth it. Yeah. Or there's not enough danger for it to be like a risk reward type shot. It would just be an easy hole. So I don't think they'll do it, but it's possible. Next hole is awesome. very, very, very short par 3, but don't get it twisted. It is not easy. These are some of the deepest bunkers you will ever see. And the shape of the green is really cool. So everything runs this way. Everything breaks hard like that. Here, everything breaks hard this way. Everything goes hard that way. And the pin can get tucked so far back in this corner where like you almost have like this is its own green, this is its own green, this is its own green, and then this is its own green. So it's like 4 greens in one. And let's see if we can get a good picture of this green.
Everybody always talks about why are all the really good par 3s always really short? You ever notice that?
Yep. So take a look at this picture. This is a really cool one. This still doesn't give you quite a sense of just how deep these bunkers are on both sides, but you can see like back here, total depth. If you're in this rough, you've got no chance to a back pin of getting it anywhere close. And if the pin is back here, the tee shot, you actually have to go over the corner of this bunker to get it close. So maybe guys would try to land it like in here with some right to left spin to work the ball in that way instead of trying to carry it all the way there. But just a really well-designed hole. You will see birdies on this hole. You will also see bogeys, maybe even a couple doubles if a guy gets stuck in a bunker, or even we could even see someone play ping pong back and forth with these bunkers when it gets really fast.
Yeah, I hope they get the greens a little firm and fast. It'll be fun. It looks like it'll be fun anyway.
So one of the things that I heard from my buddy is that they've been watering the greens a lot in the past couple weeks, and it's still been very firm and fast. This course takes on water very, very well. So even with the rain, it could still be firm-ish, especially if we get a couple days of sun and wind, which it sounds like they're getting today and tomorrow, and then rain is coming back Thursday and Friday. So maybe the course will soften on the first 2 days and then get firmer again on the final 2 days. I'm not sure. But here we get a par 5. This is usually the 7th hole. So we're going from what is usually the 3rd to what is usually the 7th, so that the 4th can be held for the closing 18. But tee shots are going to come down into this range. If you're long enough to carry this bunker on the right, it is very helpful. One of the reasons for that, maybe we'll be able to see this on the Tourcast. Let's see. From this tee box, this tree is extremely annoying. So you kind of can't see it. You can't play a cut off of this hole and go down the left side. This tree is in the way. So it does feel like you have to either play down the right with a cut, or you have to turn the ball right to left if you want to play down the left side. Why is that important? Because if you don't have the carry distance, if you're playing a cut starting it right at that tree, you're going right to this bunker. So you have to have the carry distance to get over this bunker into this area. But even then, like, that's a very tight spot. I found myself in this right rough a lot that week. I think it was all 4 days, practice round included, that I was in this right rough, which made it a lot harder to get there. No, actually, there was one day I had a long iron in. These bunkers are extremely cool. They kind of only come into play if you hit a bad tee shot and you're like wondering how to pitch out to the next level, or if you're in the bunker and now you have to carry all of these. But then you get plenty of area to lay up if you need to before you get to a very well-guarded green. Again, really difficult bunkers. This green isn't crazy, but basically any miss, you're going to be challenged on the short game shot. So, and depending on the pin, like if the pin is here, you can't be in the right. If the pin is here, you can't miss right. So another spot where you have to miss in the correct spot coming in if you want a chance to get up and down for birdie. But if you don't hit a good drive, like let's say you've got tree trouble here, it becomes that much harder to leave yourself with something good. And it also runs pretty hard front to like middle here over this bunker. So if there's a front pin, you have to be very aware that you don't lay up too close to the green. So you might see some guys like purposely give themselves a full wedge so they can get it close if they don't have an opportunity to get there in two. But take some strategy, but mostly it's just, can you hit the drive that you need off the tee? I don't know what the heck just happened there. Lost the hole. There we go. So it's mostly just, can you hit the tee shot that you need, avoiding this tree and staying in the fairway? And if you can carry this bunker on the right, yet another opportunity for longer guys to have an advantage.
Gotcha. Hey, if I lose internet, we got a huge storm coming through right now. So just
no problem.
beware. I guess I didn't realize that we only have 2 par 5s here too. So that makes scoring making birdies a little bit more difficult.
Yep. All right, let's see. 3 holes to go. This is a fairly straightforward par 3, except for the difficulty of the green. This is one of the more severe green complexes. It's very reminiscent of the other 2 that we've highlighted that have a ton of different tiers to it. So you can see I highlighted this one with Pat, but you've got a tier here, a tier there, a second tier here. There's like almost a slot through these 2 tiers that just runs hard to the middle and then feeds all the way down to this area. And there's even a separation between this area and that area. So it's almost like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different tiers on this green. All of these bunkers are difficult, especially the back bunkers. And really, again, like where you miss depends entirely on where the pin is. If the pin is back here, this is all a no-go. This is fine. The pin is here. This is all a no-go. This is fine. But even when you're in a fine spot, the shots are so tough around the green because you have to be so precise with how far you carry it, the spin, the trajectory, everything, which is pretty reminiscent of Augusta as well.
Sorry, we're like hail and all kinds of stuff. I'm really glad that this is an elevated event because everybody gets to kind of see an old school golf course like that. It can still be. It kind of reminds me of like how Colonial was, right? When everybody got to see like an old school course really hold up and not get dominated by doing things the right way.
This is the hole that I said to Pat, like, is reminiscent of everything that Philly cricket has to offer. This is the 17th. It is a massive, massive par 4 from all the way back. And it is an extremely demanding tee shot. We're almost going to talk about the rough here. I might have to pause for a second to get my laptop charger at some point. But once again, if you've got the carry distance to take on this bunker on the right, this hole, this fairway becomes pretty wide. This is very doable. This, not so much. And a lot of the time, what you could run into is an issue where you're landing it left of this bunker and actually running into that one. So if you can carry it into this area, that becomes even better. But we're going to talk about the way the rough is cut. In fact, we can actually just have this conversation now. Typically, the way they do it is one side is into the green, one side is down green. On this hole, this side is almost always down green. So you can also, if we're downwind or maybe if you're Rory, if you can carry this bunker, if the tee's up a little bit, if you can carry this bunker, you just blast it here. And now you've got all the room in the world. It's a decent angle into this green from over there. But yeah, this is such a damn good hole. And what you don't get from this picture is just how elevated this green is and how hard uphill you have to go. You can see it from this picture, very flat down here and then just straight up. And then notice how deep these bunkers are. So there's no good miss on this green either, which is why it's important to have as short of a distance as possible into this green. This is also a tough one to hold. Like, it's really, really narrow here at the front of the green, which you can't totally see from that picture, but you can see it a little bit better here in the Tourcast. You can also see.
So do they mow it basically in a big circle, or like so is like behind the green, kind of like cross green?
Yeah, there's definitely some of that, and then also like notice how much rough there is in between some of these holes. So one thing they'll do is like they'll just go like this.
Oh, okay, got you.
Or this one would actually be like that.
Okay, makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess because a lot of the holes just are kind of side by side. Yeah.
So here you get the distance advantage in a number of ways, including the fact that like you can't miss right here. This is the same like old train track fescue on a hill. You might find this ball, but if you do, you're just lucky to get out of it type miss. So you might just purposely blast the ball into this left rough where speed, again, becomes super important, super predictive of success so that you can control the ball out of there. Especially if this is down grain rough, which I think it will be, you can just blast it over that bunker into this rough and now play from there. I think we'll see a number of guys do that purposely just to take this miss completely out of play, as well as that bunker out of play.
Yeah, I mean, it's 500-yard par 4, so it's not like it's already long. It's so funny, though, like we see a 500-yard par 4, like, man, just trying to make a par and get out of here would be really nice. And then if it was a 500-yard par 5, you would expect to make birdie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mindset thing, right?
Yep. And then we close with another 500-yard par 4. This is usually the fourth hole. Again, crazy back tee. And now look how narrow this gets there. So there are a couple of things you can do on this hole. Again, down green is going to be the left side. So what I did was I just tried to take on this bunker and rip it. And I missed left. One of the days I got it to like this area. Another day, on the final day, I was in this left rough, got knocked down by this tree, but that was totally fine. Because now,
hey, I still have 17 up, by the way. You still have 17 up on my screen.
My bad. Thank you for that. So really difficult hole here. You can see how narrow it gets in this fairway. Let's get this view. So this is going to be down green, I believe, and this will be into the green. So you kind of have to miss left, but you can't go in these bunkers. So I had the distance where I could take on this last bunker. One of the days I got into this area, turned it into a fairly easy hole. In the last day, I hit this tree in the fly, was in this rough, which was totally fine because notice like now I'm avoiding these bunkers and it's a pretty decent angle into that green from distance, but you just have to avoid these bunkers and avoid the right rough. Another like 500-yard hole. The green isn't crazy difficult. These are actually some of the more benign bunkers on the course. This one can be difficult if the pin is anywhere on the left, but like even if it's back left, that's totally fine. So one of the easier green complexes on the course because it's a 500-yard super demanding tee shot. And again, like the longest guys, I think they'll be able to take this on at the very least. Like instead of the fairway being here or there, they'll have like from there to there. So even if they can't fully carry the left side of this bunker, they still get an extra, 5 yards of width if they can just get to that point. So Rory, Pendrith, those guys, big advantage.
Yeah, I mean, once again, just the same thing. All the long guys. I mean, the first person I'm gonna go look and see what Minwoo Lee is, what he's priced at for DraftKings is gonna be where I start. It's gonna be hard to. I haven't looked at pricing at all, but it's gonna be hard to not be on Rory on this type of golf course too. It just screams Rory to me. So already in good form.
Yeah, I just noticed, by the way, that you couldn't see the Tourcast when I went to it. So this is the bunker I was talking about. Like, even if instead of having this width or that width to land it, even if you can just get to this point, that becomes super helpful. And if you can carry that last bunker and you get all of this, that is immensely helpful, which is why Rory Pendrith, like, just an enormous advantage on this hole. That extra, like, 20 yards of carry distance might literally be worth half a stroke on this hole.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the whole golf course, which, I mean, I still think that if you can't get it there, I think you have a huge advantage, especially DraftKings there. But I still think there's some shorter guys that if they play smart, they can still compete. They just can't. It's not as volatile golf, right? You're just got to hit it where you're supposed to and try to two-putt from 40 feet a lot.
Yeah, 1 second. I'll be right back.
All right, you're good.
My laptop had been at 8%. I just checked it. It was at 2%. Now it's at 1%. So it's a good thing I plugged it in. But yeah, I was talking about this with Pat too. I do think there's a path for a Russell Henley to play well here, right? For one thing, he has proven time and time again, like at Muirfield Village or at Bay Hill, that he can perform very well on golf courses where he has to attack the course in a very different way from what the guys who are best fit for the course will. But he's able to do it. He's able to stick to a game plan. He comes up with his own strategies and succeeds. And so, like on this hole, Henley is probably going back in this area there instead of trying to take these on. He's staying back there, and now he'll, maybe he doesn't even try to hit the screen. Maybe he just puts it into this area of fairway and tries to get up and down and almost plays it as a par 5 that way. And maybe he makes par all 4 days and gain strokes on the hole doing it that way. So like he is obviously a super talented player, very smart player, plays golf courses his own way and does so successfully. He could also, if he doesn't hit a good drive, we could probably see him just lay up in this area to a wedge and get up and down from there pretty easily. So there's a path for other guys. You don't have to be long. The point we're making isn't that guys who aren't long off the tee can't succeed here. The point is the golf course itself is easier for the long guys than it is the short guys. And to your point, in a signature event with no cut, with DraftKings scoring, those are the guys who have the best opportunity of making a lot of birdies. So, Henley's path certainly is how can I get around this golf course making as few bogeys as possible? Thor Bjornsson, Keith Mitchell, Taylor Pendrith, they have an opportunity to make enough birdies to offset some of the bogeys that we know that they're going to make. So it's a totally different approach for a Henley versus a long guy. It doesn't mean that the short guys can't succeed, but it does mean that the long guys have a very distinct and clear advantage here.
Yeah, sounds like it. I'll be interested to see how Spieth plays this week. He really showed some signs last week, and
mm-hmm.
is he, because he obviously he's not one of those really long guys, but he does have some imagination and may play a little bit different than everybody else. So
he might have the carry distance on a number of these holes. I mean, he has gotten so much longer, and he's driving the ball so well right now. His we talked about it earlier this season, but like, here, I'll just bring this up. Let's do this. So earlier in the season, we talked about the fact that, like, hey, he was driving it well, right? The putting was there. The around the green play was there. The approach play was typically bad, but he had spiked twice. And because he had spiked twice, we said, all right, so the path for him to contend and win is there. He just needs to have the one event where all of it comes together. Well, then at the Heritage, the around the green play went away. He didn't have a great putting day, but the approach play was good again. And he drove the ball really well on what is a super tight golf course, and a course that used to give him fits off the tee as a result. And then last week, look how damn good the ball striking was in both areas. So he is showing us exactly what we need. You do this again, and you have these return to this form, and Jordan Spieth is the winner of the Truist Championship.
Yeah, I mean, he's just the one that stuck out to me as like might go overlooked in that longer category. If people do just hammer away at the guys that hit it far, like he might be our path to be really successful here.
Some other names I have outrights so far on Keegan Bradley. We've got him at 2.7%. I got him at 45 to 1. I took Taylor Pendrith at 66 to 1 with an each way. We have him at 2.1%. I've already mentioned him. Can pretty much guarantee I'll be playing Pendrith on DraftKings. And then Michael Thorbjornsen, 140 to 1 with an each way on Bet365. We've got him at 2% to win because he's one of the longest players in this field. We have, let's see, Rory at the longest. Then we go Keith Mitchell, Minwoo Lee, Ludwig Oberg, Pendrith, Ben On. Actually, Thorbjornsen is ahead of Pendrith and Ben On in distance in our estimates for the week. So, like, man, that whole group I just listed, you can kind of take chances on all of them, and they're gonna have paths to success here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of guys that I would like to know that I'm going to dig into to know how far they hit it and especially how far they can carry it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any guys that maybe are off the radar, hit it far that I'll give you the guy that comes to mind for me is Rasmus Højgaard. Like,
he's second in carry distance on tour.
I mean, like, that's no stats looking, right? That's just knowing about like the way that he hits a golf ball. Like guys like that, to me, I'm going to be highly interested in.
Yeah, is his brother in this field? Is Nikolai not qualified?
And Rasmus played good last week until the last round. He didn't play very good in the last round, but he was playing.
Yeah,
good.
which is kind of his pattern so far this year, which I don't think there's anything to it, but definitely noteworthy, maybe just for a round 4 showdown. But yeah, I mean, he was somebody that going into the week I expected to be on. We do have him at 1.2% to win. One of the most volatile players in the field, can make a lot of birdies, so I'm definitely not opposed to playing Rasmus. Like I said, he's second on tour in carry distance, only behind Potgieter. Nikolai Højgaard is actually fourth, which is why I wanted a chance to take him, but it doesn't look like he's in the field. Rory is third, Minwoo Lee fifth, Thor Bjornsson sixth, Keith Mitchell ninth, Oberg 13th, Wyndham Clark. Like, this is a good place for Wyndham Clark if he could actually find some form again. Woodland is 17th, Pendrith 19th, Schauffele 22nd. I do think this is a pretty good spot for Schauffele as well. And I give Schauffele a pretty big advantage over JT, Morikawa, Cantlay, Oberg, some of these other guys at the top because he is that long as well. And I just think like he's as good as anybody else everywhere in all other ways as well. Like Oberg might have a small advantage over Schauffele in carry distance, but Schauffele is a much better player throughout the rest of the bag. So I'll take Schauffele there.
Yeah, unless you get that Oberg spike week where he just dominates like nobody's business.
And there is that possibility, right? Because we talked about how much overlap there is putting-wise, lag-wise, with the speed and undulation of the greens. Oberg puts better at Augusta than anywhere else, or at least he has in the past 2 years. So this definitely could be a week where we fade Oberg and we get pissed off and he makes every 15-footer and drops a couple bombs from 40 feet when other guys are 3-putting, things like that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think good info. I think that, it's good to have information on a course that nobody else really has. So I'm looking for. I'll do my best to watch this weekend just because I'm so interested in the golf course.
Mm-hmm. I am going to the practice round tomorrow, by the way. So I will hopefully be able to get some additional information on firmness of the golf course, how guys are attacking it. If there are some tee boxes that we pointed to as the actual tee boxes today that clearly will not be used, I will hopefully be able to learn that as well tomorrow. But I'm not going to say like, oh, we have this huge advantage because I'm going to the practice round. I can see everything. We pretty much know how the golf course is going to play. I think it's a total scam when other sites do that. So I'm certainly not going to do that myself. But maybe we get some helpful tidbits of information here and there.
Yeah, little things. I mean, that's all you're looking for.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? I do think it's worth having a quick discussion. DraftKings ownership at the top. Do you have a sense with Rory at 12,000 and then second highest being Collin Morikawa at 10,500? Rory's kind of getting the Scotty treatment this week. So do you think that the Rory ownership is going to be reminiscent of Scotty ownership from the past like year and a half to 2 years?
I don't know. I hope that it scares everybody off of them. Really, would be what I would like for it to have happen.
That is my hope as well, and I do think there's a good chance that people are going to opt for 3 guys in the 9 to 10K range instead of Rory plus one more. In which case we would get some very favorable ownership on Rory. I think that his GPP score will be really, really good regardless, but I think he'd have to get to 35% or something like that.
I hope
35% would pretty much be like the break-even point. I think there's a better chance he's like 20 to 25.
I just hope Spieth playing good last week doesn't spike his ownership this week. He is kind of priced up, like he's above Matsuyama. I think a lot of people go down to Matsuyama there.
What do you think of the thought that around the green play could mean less this week?
Well, I'm always a proponent of around the green play meaning less when you have less tight lies, which it appears that we have less tight lies here.
Yep. Do you know where I'm going with that?
Well, I mean, I'm just going to get like if around the play green means less, then you probably want no part of Matsuyama because that's what he does well.
Well, it also means that the guy sandwiched between Spieth and Hideki Matsuyama, who won 3 weeks ago or 3 events ago and has played pretty well since at the Masters and the Heritage, Victor Hovland at very low ownership, I would expect could be really, really good here.
Where's he? How far did I always think of him hitting that like low cut off the tee? Does he have the ability to hit it pretty far in the air?
Let's see where he is in carry distance. He's 89th, so he doesn't have the carry distance, but if there's someone that you like need to count on to actually fit it into some of those smaller areas, he definitely fits that mold. But I'm more so
also is a really good like mid iron player too.
Yes. So like even if he decides, all right, I'm just going to hit 3-wood, stay short of this bunker, and give myself 200, he can still thrive from there. His iron play has been spectacular. And I think that one of the things you could do this week, like I've mentioned, I'm all over Pendrith this week. Pendrith has the second worst estimated around the green play in our model this week, only ahead of Matthew Pavone. So if I'm playing Pendrith, I'm already hoping that around the green play doesn't matter a ton. It makes sense to kind of correlate that throughout your lineup and go Pendrith and Victor Hovland and Keith Mitchell, who's at negative 0.05 in our around the green estimate. Maybe Rasmus Højgaard, who's also down there with his short game. Like you can build these skill set stacks when the way that the course is going to challenge people is more uncertain than usual. Because like ordinarily, you don't actually get correlation if you know how the course is going to test people. If you have a really reliable, powerful course fit model, you don't get that correlation because it's a correlation of the errors in terms of like what how the course will actually play, how it will actually test people. And so if around the green play matters a lot less than we think, they would all benefit equally. If distance matters a lot more than we think, they would all benefit equally. So that's the kind of thing you're trying to do with the skill set stack. It only really works on these courses where we don't quite know how the course is going to play.
I'll be interested in Hovland in the outright market for sure. I'm not sure that like the birdie power of the DraftKings stuff, if you could get him to optimal, unless he's just super low owned.
Well, I think he's going to be under 10% for sure. And there aren't going to be many guys in that range under 10%. He's 28-1 in the outright market, so I'm not in on that. We have him at 2.0%.
Yeah, I would have thought he was going to be 45-ish is probably what I kind of expected.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can use that to say, all right, why is this guy going to be under 10% at $9,100 when the course could potentially fit him pretty well?
Yeah. That doesn't correlate. But I also think Hovland's one of those guys that most like Vegas doesn't want to make a mistake on. Mm-hmm. So they're always going to miss low on guys like that. I think they do that with Spieth a lot too. I don't think you get fair value on Spieth very much because of the same thing.
And with Spieth, they know people are going to bet Spieth no matter what. So
that's right.
There's that too. I will, like one final thing before we get out of here, I will reiterate once again that I think putting could be really predictive here. So Sam Burns has the carry distance, has the putter. The rest of his game has been really bad. It was a little bit better this past week. So maybe he wakes up a bit and could actually do some damage. The other thing I like Burns about this week is he's as good as anyone at scoring, just making birdies and eagles. He will make his fair share of bogeys, but you also know he's going to make birdies and he will make plenty of putts. So he could be a pretty solid GPP play as well.
Yeah, Burns is the only thing that I dislike about Burns is that he doesn't seem to miss it in the spots where he's supposed to. Like when he misses dead.
Yeah, 100% correct there. Another like potential correlation pairing, if the only two things that matter this week in any meaningful way are distance off the tee and putting, which I think is within the range of outcomes, Sam Burns and Max Grazerman. They are both long off the tee. They both make an extraordinary amount of putts, and they both kind of stink everywhere else, at least right now. So if you're playing Burns, play Grazerman. If you're playing Grazerman, play Burns.
Yeah, there's a lot of correlation to guys like this. So I don't think there are many other people that skill set stack. So I think you do have some leverage there.
For sure. All right. Any closing thoughts? One and done.
It's just so ownership based, right? For us.
Yeah. we stink. So
I mean, like
we got a lot of work to do. So.
I mean, we're so far back. Like a shot with a Hovland doesn't hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know who else it could be. Like
at sub 1% Hovland,
I like Keegan quite a bit as well. Keegan does have the carry distance that we're looking for. Where is Keegan on this list? 49th. So that's decent. Let's see, who else were we talking about there? 19th for Pendrith. I mean, how crazy do you want to get here?
Yeah, I mean, I just think the only reason I say a Hovland is because he wouldn't be a surprise winner, and we're going to get him at the same percentage as the guys that we get really crazy. If you go way down, you're still getting essentially the same percentage.
Yep, I think I agree with that completely. So I'm going to lock in Hovland for us. I think I personally am going to play Keegan. But yeah, I mean, my personal entry is only 2 million ahead of ours. We're at 1.3 million. We stink. So hopefully we can catch fire here. But that's the thing about this part of the schedule. You might think you're totally dead, but we get signature event after major championship coming up the next couple months. You rattle off a couple wins, you are in the money. It might only take 2 wins to get yourself in the money, no matter how bad you're doing right now. So keep at it, take some chances, get contrarian, but know that you're not out of it. You don't need to just totally stop paying attention at this point of the one and done season.
Well, I think we were the opposite. Weren't we pretty good through right here last year and then just stunk it up the rest of the way and just
we were comfortably in the money at this point. I can't remember if we ended up min cashing or if I ended up min cashing last year.
But I think you ended up min cashing.
Okay. And I think it was the opposite. I think our entry was better for most of the season, and I had one good week down the stretch when I had to go really contrarian on my own.
Yeah, you won a big event at the end of the year. I'm pretty sure to get into the.
So yeah, lots of ways to do it. But yeah, I like these picks. One other thought that I have is, I think, given the fact that this is a signature event, Underdog has been pretty good about giving a lot of options. And I think we might be able to catch them just a little bit uninformed on some of these holes. Like if they're doing, over under on strokes for 16 through 18, knowing that 17 and 18 are extremely difficult. And the 16th is a pretty difficult par 3 now. So very much going to be on the lookout for that. And there's a chance that we are just hammering Underdog with massive amounts of money. So make sure you're on Underdog ahead of time so that you're not scrambling to get everything in. And that will all be done in the FTN Fantasy Discord, the Pick'em channel, and then also in my own Discord now. We'll be talking plenty Pick'em and, of course, DFS as well. You can find more information, all that, in the description or on my Twitter at AlexBlicka1. Anything else here, Justin?
One week, obviously, this is a good week to pay attention. We've got a little bit better advantage than maybe some others.
Definitely. All right, guys, as usual, please like the show, subscribe to the channel, comment if you can. If you have any lingering questions about the golf course that maybe we didn't quite touch on the way you'd like, ask them in the comments. I will be answering all of them. You can also hit me up in Discord as well. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We will catch you next time.